In this tutorial, we're going to see how you can buy yield-bearing stablecoins, starting with USDY as an example. USDY, as you know, as we have discussed in the lesson, is a token issued by Ondo Finance that is basically backed by US treasuries and liquid assets. These are fiat-backed stablecoins. They are not 100% decentralized. The issuer can still freeze those assets, meaning these tokens are more centralized than decentralized. Nevertheless, they allow people to have direct exposure to US treasuries, and which is something that was difficult previously, especially with the fact that in order for you to be able to access US treasuries and the yield that comes from US treasuries, you need to go through institutions, you need to go through KYC, which is know your customer, and provide all the documentations needed about yourself in order for you to access these kind of instruments. And keeping in mind that these instruments are equivalent to savings accounts if you want. However, when you open a savings account with a bank, they usually give you a fraction of the yield and return that they get from investing your savings in US treasuries or any other assets for that matter. So let's say the interest rates set by the Federal Reserve are 3.7%. If you open a savings account with a bank, it is rare that a bank will actually give you the full 3.7%. They will probably give you less than 1% and keep the rest for themselves. Yield-bearing stablecoins like USDY allow you to hold a token that passes through all the interest that is provided by the Federal Reserve to you directly. So in the case of USDY, they pass on around 3.55% of the yield directly to you, while obviously the federal fund rate as of the time of shooting is 3.75. So there is a small percentage that goes to cover the costs of running such a vehicle. Nevertheless, you are getting yield that you will never be able to get with a savings account. Another solution would be to invest in money market funds. What we're doing here is almost equivalent to having your money in a money market fund, which is accessible via an investment bank rather than a commercial bank. So yes, so the yield-bearing stablecoins and solutions such as USDY democratizes the access to safe yield, if you want, or the risk-free rate, as some would call it. Let's dive into the example. So in order for you to get your hands on USDY, you have two ways. The official way is to buy USDY directly from Ondo Finance themselves using their own website and their own platform. However, if you want to do that using the official Ondo Finance website, you're going to have to go through KYC, know your customer. So you have to create an account with them. You have to provide them with your documents to ensure that you are not a US resident, and this is the exact same thing as doing it as investing in a money market fund or investing in a savings account. The idea behind DeFi is that this allows you, or DeFi allows you to get your hands on such instruments without having to go through KYC and know your customer and provide your information, your private information, which you might not want to do. And as we're going to be seeing in today's example, there is a way for you to get your hands on USDY without doing any KYC. But first, let's go through the official way on how you can do that. So you go into the official website, ondo.finance/USDY, and you get all the information you need on that specific token. So it's obviously the leading permissionless yield token. Even though they say it's permissionless, nevertheless, I'm almost sure that they can freeze a specific token or specific tokens if there is any malicious activity. But nevertheless, they are marketing it as permissionless. The current price is $1.13. It's not $1. I'm gonna be explaining to you why in a bit. The APY that you will get is 3.55%. So this is the yield. As you can see, the price of the token keeps on climbing cumulatively over time. Why? Because they explain it right here. So you have two different tokens. You have USDY and you have rUSDY. So what's the difference? USDY have an accumulating structure behind it. So an accumulating token that reflects income in the form of an increasing share price. So when you buy the token, the yield that you get on this token goes directly in the price of the token. So you just buy the token and hold it in your wallet, and that's it. And you will automatically get 3.55% APY as long as you just hold the token. While the rUSDY is pegged to $1 all the time. The yield, you get it in form of extra tokens. So if you start with one token, let's say, or 100 tokens at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, you will end up with 103.55 rUSDY in your wallet. While if you hold USDY, then the amount will be 103.55 rather than 103 tokens. At the end of the day, both amounts are the same. You're going to end up with the exact same amount, but the mechanics are different. With USDY, you will hold the exact same amount of tokens, but the value of those tokens will be higher. With rUSDI, you will hold a higher number of tokens, but the value is the same as if you just as if you basically got the yield directly embedded into the token. So this is the difference between the two, and that's why the value of USDY keeps climbing over time. Eligibility, non-US individuals and organizations. So if you are a US individual, you're not allowed to hold this token, obviously, because there is no proper regulation yet in the US. And the passing yield directly from treasuries to the holder is yet not allowed in the US. There's a lot of rules that are coming out right now, but still the Clarity Act, which is the act that will legitimize all of this activity, is not yet enacted into law. Therefore, US individuals are not entitled to hold these kind of tokens. The underlying assets backing this token are bank deposits and short-term US treasuries. This is the risk-free rate and that's why it makes a lot of sense to, if you want to save money, rather than putting your savings in a savings account in a bank, you have the option to basically buy a tool like USDY and get a much higher savings rate while keeping full custody of your own tokens in your own wallet. So this is how powerful these instruments are. Liquidity, daily subscriptions and redemptions. So you get the reward on a daily basis. Transferability, freely transferable. You can swap it, you can sell it, you can do whatever you want with it instantaneously. And then you have the use cases: cash management, yield bearing collateral, regulatory compliance, they are regulated. Issuer domicile is available, it's issued from within the United States, because obviously Ondo Finance is based in the United States. And the available networks: USDY token is available on Ethereum, Mantle, Solana, Sui, Aptos, Noble, Arbitrum, Stellar, and Say. So let's go ahead and try to buy the USDY. So you click on buy USDY. This is the platform, or the where you basically can make the transaction directly. As you can see, you can connect a wallet or sign up and log in. But when you click on connect a wallet, let's say we will connect the Phantom, let's say Solana, connect. It asks you to sign up or sign in. You cannot proceed without doing KYC. And when I say KYC, you have to register who you are, provide them with your documents to show them that you are not a US citizen, and for them to know who you are, basically. So we click on skip for now. And as you can see here, I am not allowed to buy any USDY without completing my application and completing my onboarding process, which if I click on it, then you have to provide your information, who you are, and then obviously the identity verification, which in DeFi is not something, or for a lot of people, they don't want to basically do. Here's the second strategy where you can basically get your hands on USDY without needing to go through identity verification. The second way is to buy USDY on the secondary market, peer-to-peer, directly on a decentralized exchange. Now, if you want to know where you can buy this token, go to CoinMarketCap, click on USDY here in the search bar. And then once you have this page that is open, you scroll down to the markets section. And this is where you can see where USDY trades on different exchanges and decentralized exchanges. So it's available on Bybit, on Uniswap, on Orca, and Meteora as well. These are very well known, but keep in mind that the volume and liquidity on these secondary market is not very big. So if you're trying to buy large quantities of USDY, expect to have a big slippage. So let's say we want to go with Uniswap. You go to the trades, and inside of this dashboard, you make sure that you are connected. You connected your wallet. You choose the assets that's available in your wallet. In our case, it's gonna be Solana, and I would like to buy USDY token, as you can see here. In case you cannot see it here, simply just type the name of the token, and then continue. I wanna switch, let's say I wanna swap 50% of my current SOL into USDY. As you can see, 0.12 Solana will get us 10 USDY, which is almost the exact same amount. So $11.45, $11.40. Obviously, it fluctuates a little bit. There is a gas fee that you also need to pay, which is it fluctuates, but it is in the cents. You don't pay a lot. Depend on the network congestion, of course. Ensure that your slippage is set to zero point 0.1 and not more than that. Obviously, if there isn't a lot of liquidity for that token, you're not going to be able to process your transaction with a slippage rate of 0.1%. You might have to increase your slippage all the way to 1%, 2%, or even 5%, depending on how much you actually want to buy these tokens. But keep in mind, the higher the slippage, the higher the loss that you're going to take in order to make this transaction. So if I'm switching, or if I'm buying, let's say, or swapping 100 USDC into USDY, I'm not going to get an equivalent of $100 in USDY if the slippage is too high and liquidity is too thin. I will be able to make that transaction, but instead of getting $100 equivalent of USDY, I will get maybe $90 equivalent of USDY, and there will be 5 to 10% of slippage, depending again on the slippage that you put. For now, we're going to opt with zero point 0.1 and try to see if the transaction will go through. So review, this is the fee that I'm going to be paying, 0.05 Solana, 0.05 dollar actually. This is the final transaction, confirm. So here you go. We have just swapped Solana to USDY. You will be able to see the token available in your wallet. As you can see here, USDY available in my wallet. As long as I just simply hold this token, I will be earning 3.55% without doing anything, absolutely nothing, just holding this token. Of course, I will need to trust Ondo Finance to manage their reserves properly, that they are reporting that their numbers are accurate and their reserves are truly there. There is always the risk of a central issuer here, which is Ondo Finance in this case, manipulating their books and not having the reserves, and Ondo Finance or USDY token losing its value in case there isn't enough cash reserves backing it. So this is a risk that you also need to keep in mind. And that's it. That's how you basically can buy USDY token without going through KYC, or also if you want to go through KYC from the official website of USDY. If you want to switch back from USDY to Solana, simply you switch that and then max, and then you review the transaction, and then you do it, and then here you go, you switch back from USDY into whatever token you basically want.